Heading into the 2001 campaign, expectations were low in Foxborough, Massachusetts. The long-suffering New England Patriots were coming off a second straight fifth-place finish in the AFC East. They were, in fact, one of the worst teams in football in 2000, finishing 5-11 in their first season under new head coach Bill Belichick. The one saving grace for New England? Quarterback Drew Bledsoe, then a three-time Pro Bowler who had been integral to the franchise's modest success under Bill Parcells and later Pete Carroll in the mid to late 90s. If the Patriots were going to defy expectations and somehow make some noise in 2001, it'd be because of him. And then, disaster struck. Or so they thought. In reality, the horrific injury that seemed poised to derail the Patriots season was in fact the catalyst that birthed one of football's most enduring dynasties, and the springboard that launched the indelible career of the greatest quarterback of all time. Picking up right where they left off the season prior, the Patriots got off to an inauspicious start in 2001. A cushy season-opening matchup against the Bengals ended in a 23-17 loss, despite a solid performance from Bledsoe, and any flicker of optimism that existed coming into the season immediately dimmed. It wasn't long before that optimism got obliterated. Late in their Week 2 showdown against the New York Jets, as the Patriots tried to muster a fourth-quarter comeback, Bledsoe got leveled by linebacker Mo Lewis and was left in a crumpled heap on his own sideline.
Gonna run it. Needs 10 yards. Oh, does he hit? Oh, my. And the ball, they're going to actually, it looks like they're going to rule that a fumble. And oh, look at Drew.
Yeah, this is more critical than the first down to the Patriots' hopes.
Though Bledsoe eventually managed to get up under his own power and actually stayed in the game for the following Patriots possession, it became clear soon enough that he was seriously hurt. After the hit, Bledsoe reportedly started talking on the sidelines to third-string quarterback Damon Huard about plays that weren't even in the Patriots' playbook. So when the Patriots started their final drive with 2:16 to go in the fourth quarter, trailing by a touchdown, they turned to their backup quarterback, a recent sixth-round pick out of Michigan by the name of Tom Brady. The seventh QB off the board in the 2000 NFL Draft had exactly one game of NFL experience under his belt at the time, having spelled Bledsoe for the final drive of a blowout loss in Week 13 the season prior. But the Patriots had no better options, so in he went. And to his credit, Brady acquitted himself well in his first meaningful NFL drive. With the game on the line, Brady ably marched the Patriots downfield, leading them from deep in their own territory to the Jets' 29-yard line. The comeback attempt ultimately went for naught though, as the 24-year-old couldn't get the Patriots into the end zone with time expiring, heaving up 4 straight incomplete passes to wrap up a dispiriting loss, their second in a row. And their troubles, it seemed, were only beginning. After the game, Bledsoe was rushed to the hospital with pain in his chest and a rapidly escalating heart rate. By the time the ambulance arrived at Massachusetts General though, Bledsoe was, to borrow his own words, lights out. The hit from Lewis, it turned out, had partially torn an artery near Bledsoe's ribcage, causing a hemothorax, or internal bleeding. Upon arrival at the hospital, an unconscious Bledsoe had a tube inserted into his chest to remove the blood that had been accumulating there. About 3 liters worth, according to the team physician at the time. The tube stayed there for 6 days. Still, as harrowing as the ordeal was, Bledsoe had managed to avoid the worst. The Patriots, however, were reeling, and their season now looked poised to be a total write-off. Bledsoe was instructed to take 2 weeks off from any physical activity following his near-fatal injury, and it seemed probable that he would miss a significant portion of the season. Now, the Patriots' already slim chances of putting together a memorable 2001 campaign rested in the hands of an unheralded second-year QB with 13 NFL pass attempts on his resume. A funny thing happened on the way to the AFC basement, though. The Patriots started winning.
Tom Brady getting his first start today for the injured Drew Bledsoe. Brady, the cool California kid, he had a lot of confidence when we talked to him. He said he's been running this offense since the day he walked in the door. Feels very comfortable with it. He's going to have some receivers make some plays, though, if the Patriots are going to hang with this high-powered offense of the Colts.
In Week 3, Brady's first career start, the Patriots stomped the Indianapolis Colts, handing Peyton Manning and company their first loss of the season. Brady hardly shined, throwing for just 168 yards and no touchdowns on a measly 23 attempts, but he had his first career victory in the books, and New England was in the win column. Little did they know it, but that also marked the end of their first and only losing streak of the season. Though Brady had another quiet performance the following Sunday, throwing for just 86 yards in a 30-10 loss to the Miami Dolphins, the youngster broke out in a big way in Week 5, throwing for 364 yards and a pair of touchdowns to lead the Patriots to a 29-26 overtime win over the San Diego Chargers. Brady followed up that eye-opening performance with another superb game, throwing for 3 touchdowns while completing 80% of his pass attempts in a Week 6 rematch against the Colts, another commanding New England victory. Suddenly, the Patriots were back at 500 for the first time since the final week of the 1999 campaign, and for the first time in Belichick's tenure. As it happens, Brady endured his first career stinker the next time out, throwing the first 4 picks of his career in a loss to the Denver Broncos, but from that point onward, it was almost entirely smooth sailing for Brady. He was looking so good, in fact, that Belichick couldn't even go back to Bledsoe when he was healthy enough to return in late November. Less than a year removed from signing a 10-year, $103 million extension with the Patriots, then the biggest contract in NFL history, Bledsoe had been benched for a kid. It couldn't have been an easy decision for Belichick to make. Needless to say, though, he made the right call. With Brady getting more and more comfortable each time out and their stingy defense tormenting opponents every Sunday, the Patriots didn't lose a game after Week 10 that season, en route to a division title. Brady finished the season 11-3 as a starter with a better passer rating than Pro Bowlers like Manning and Donovan McNabb. And he wasn't done yet. Pitted against the Oakland Raiders in the divisional round, the Patriots eked out a thrilling OT victory after controversially erasing a 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter of what would eventually become known as the Tuck Rule game. The Patriots' dream season seemed destined to end the following week against the Pittsburgh Steelers when Brady went down with an injury in the second quarter of the AFC Championship game, but New England's $103 million backup, Bledsoe, dutifully stepped in and ushered his club to victory, and into Super Bowl 36. Standing between the Patriots and their first ever Super Bowl title, the mighty St. Louis Rams, led by eventual MVP Kurt Warner, the conductor of the so-called greatest show on turf. To say the Patriots took the field in New Orleans as underdogs would be a massive understatement. The Rams, who hoisted the Lombardi Trophy 2 years prior and finished the 2001 campaign with a 14-2 record, were favored to win by a whopping 14 points. What nobody realized at the time, however, was that the Rams were squaring off against the GOAT.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Super Bowl 36.
The Patriots' defense made life miserable for Warner, who threw a pick-6 to Ty Law midway through the second quarter, and New England eventually took a 14-3 lead into halftime thanks to a Brady touchdown pass to David Patton 31 seconds before the whistle blew. The Rams found their groove, however, in the second half, locking in late in the third quarter and ultimately erasing a 14-point deficit on the backs of a 2-yard sneak from Warner and a 26-yard touchdown pass to Ricky Proehl. With a minute 37 to go in the fourth, the game was tied 17-17, and Brady, who 5 months prior was riding the pine as some anonymous backup, was going to get a shot to make history. He didn't falter. Working with no timeouts left, Brady marched the Patriots from their own 17-yard line to the Rams' 30 in less than a minute, completing 5 of his 8 pass attempts to set up a game-winning and championship-winning field goal attempt for Adam Vinatieri. You know how it turned out.
Here comes one of greater importance if he makes it, and it's right down the pipe. Adam Vinatieri. No time on the clock, and the Patriots have won Super Bowl 36. Unbelievable.
For the first time ever, the Patriots were champions. For his efforts, Brady was named Super Bowl MVP. And the rest, as they say, is history. That offseason, with Brady firmly installed as their quarterback, the Patriots traded Bledsoe to the Buffalo Bills. And for the better part of the next 2 decades, the Patriots didn't stop winning. Over the ensuing 18 seasons, as Brady blossomed into a great quarterback and eventually into an all-time great quarterback, the Patriots won another 5 Super Bowl titles. They were AFC champs 8 more times over that span and won their division every year except for 2002 and 2008. And that latter one was when Brady missed the season with a torn ACL. Meanwhile, Brady earned himself another 3 Super Bowl MVP awards with New England, while laying a claim to virtually every quarterback record in the books throughout his singular career with the Patriots. And after leaving the Pats in the winter of 2020, a 43-year-old Brady promptly carried the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a Super Bowl title, and naturally earned himself Super Bowl MVP honors for a 5th time. Then, at 44, he propelled the Bucs to a 13-4 record while leading the NFL in passing yards and passing touchdowns before suffering a heartbreaking loss to the Los Angeles Rams in the divisional round of the playoffs. He is, without a doubt, the greatest quarterback in the history of the game, and the engine behind the most prosperous and indelible dynasty football has ever known. Who knows how different the course of NFL history would have been, though, had Drew Bledsoe simply run out of bounds. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button.